All right, good evening. I'd like to call the special called meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, September 29th, 2014 to order. Will the city clerk please call roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the September 29th, 2014 special called meeting. I'll waive the reading of the rules and general announcements this evening. As I'll call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Good to hear.
Councilmember Karen Thurman.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Kuntz.
Here.
Councilmember Birthday Boy Bill Lusk.
At least it's not a black boy.
Yo.
Councilmember Bert Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Rick Morick.
Here.
For the record, Councilmember Joe Longoria is traveling and absent this evening. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want to welcome everybody here tonight, including our employees, staff. Ms. Hewitt. All right, if our clerk will please call the first item for our agenda.
First item is approval of the meeting agenda. Agenda item number 14273.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, I'd like to add an executive session tonight to discuss potential litigation, and land acquisition.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda and to add an executive session to discuss potential litigation, and land acquisition?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Lorig, second by Councilmember Thurman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, do we have any public comment tonight, Sudie?
We do not, sir.
Okay, we don't have any items on the consent agenda, reports or presentations. So we're going to move on to unfinished business. You could call that item.
First item is consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 13, Fund Balance Policy to modify how the minimum fund balance and surplus fund balance are determined and to redefine how surplus fund balance can be used. Agenda item number 14246. First presentation was held September 8th. Moved by motion vote on September 22nd to this evening's special called meeting. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In the fund balance policy, the way it's currently written, it includes outgoing transfers as a factor in determining the minimum fund balance and the surplus fund balance. And it became apparent during one of our work sessions on the budget that that should be removed as a part of the calculation. And so this is what this amendment does. It also changes how the fund balance, surplus funds, can actually be used. Currently, it states one-time expenditures that are non-recurring in nature and which will not require additional future expense outlays for maintenance, additional staffing, or other recurring expenditures. And since most of the capital outlays actually do affect operating budget, we are changing that to remove that language in there. So what is before you right now is that the amendment says presented, removing outgoing transfers as part of the calculation for both minimum and surplus fund balance, and removing the language that states that it can only be used for one-time, the whole sentence that says one-time expenditures that are non-recurring in nature. So we stop it at one point. I'm trying to remember what it is. Sorry, I've been so focused on budget that I didn't look back at what the language says, but it is in your packet, and yeah, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Stacy? Anybody? Okay.
The one thing maybe we should highlight as well is that if you do not adopt this tonight, we've got to rebuild the budget that's presented for you tonight. So just a point of reference.
Okay. All right, if we don't have any comments or questions, I'll up for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve Agenda item number 14-246, consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 13, Fund Balance Policy to modify how the minimum fund balance and surplus fund balance are determined and to redefine how surplus fund balance can be used.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval from Councilmember Thurman, second from Councilmember Kuntz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, Sudi, if you'll call the next item.
Next item is consideration of an ordinance to adopt amendments to the fiscal 2014 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, amending the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, amending the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 14-248. First presentation was heard September 8th. Public hearing was held September 22nd. Moved by motion and vote on September 22nd's meeting to tonight's special called council meeting. Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening again. As we discussed at the last council meeting, or with the public hearing, the budget amendments at the end of the fiscal year is simply to revise departmental budgets and interfund transfers to reflect actuals to date and projections. And I'm trying to pull up the most recent document because there is one small change that happened just before the council meeting, and it should be uploaded into your packet. So as you look at your iPads, if you're looking at iLegislate, it'll be in your packet. It's one simple little change. We had one member of our finance department retire. He wasn't with us for the full 7 years, so he didn't officially retire from the City of Milton to receive the actual pension, but he did leave the City of Milton. It's Rick Pierce, and he worked here for, I believe it was 6 years. And he had a vacation payout that we didn't anticipate in the budget, and so I had to include some amendments in there to include the cost of the payout. Give me just a second, and I'll pull up that document. So the total amount of, sorry. The total amount that we are actually amending the budget tonight would be $1,497,350 for revenue appropriation increase, and an expenditure appropriation increase will be $1,397,323. The net increase to fund balance would be $100,027. And we've already gone through everything except for that one little amendment that we've done. Would you like for me to go through them again, or do you want me to just answer questions at this point?
I'm going to say let's just answer questions. Anybody have any questions? I'll give us a couple minutes here if anybody does.
Okay. The total amendment to the finance department that was increased was $4,782, and that is all in salaries and benefits.
Okay. Matt, are you thinking you may have a question?
No, I'm good. I'm just.
Okay. Bill, Karen, anybody? We're good? Okay. Well, the question or discussion, I'll open up for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 14-248.
Second.
Okay, a motion for approval, Councilmember Hewitt. Second from Councilmember Morrig. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, Sudi, if you want to call the next item.
Final item this evening is consideration of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia, to adopt the fiscal 2015 budget for each fund of the City of Milton, Georgia, appropriating the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the several items of revenue anticipations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. Agenda item number 14249. This was discussed at the August 11th council work session, also at the August 23rd special called work session. First presentation and first public hearing were at the September 8th regular council meeting. Second public hearing was held September 22nd. This item was moved by motion and vote on September 22nd to tonight's meeting. Mr. Chris Lagerbloom.
Mayor and Council, good evening. This is always one of those discussions that we look forward to every year because it kind of sets the tone for the vision for the city for the next year by bringing to the council a annual budget that is more or less our playbook from October the 1st until September the 30th. Each year. So that's what we do tonight. It's exciting to bring this forward and hopefully bring it forward that you'll take some action upon it. I want to let you know that we budgeted this year like we've done in prior years where we worked to put the maintenance and operating funds necessary to operate the city into a budget. We look at maintenance and operating initiatives as well as those capital projects that maintain or enhance our current assets, whether that's our facilities, our public type assets, roads, bridges, and dams, parks and other things such as that. I'll get to that here shortly. The budget this year that's presented to you balances at $24,386,240. Now there is a transfer out into the capital projects fund, and I'll talk about that shortly. Like in prior years, we have gone through the budget and tried to anticipate what it takes to maintain and operate the city day to day, and that's what's captured in the maintenance and operating budget. You'll see it in your budget document. That it works by department so that it's easy to highlight which departments have what funding allocated. And as in prior years, once we start to hone in more specifically group insurance or other type things that is spread upon the departments, it might be spread equally at this point in the budget process, but it'll be distributed to the departments through budget amendment that you all have to approve later in the fiscal year. If you'd allow me to talk briefly about some of the enhancements or continuations that we have proposed in the capital improvement plan, I want to highlight that the CIP this year, instead of being a 5-year CIP, we're excited that it's a 7-year CIP. I believe it's a little bit more predictable of a world we're living in, at least from a financial perspective now, than it would have been in 2008 and 9. And it was a really good idea, I think, and our staff believe, to take a really strong look at the capital improvement project list to make sure that the projects were anticipated, number one, but number two, had some relative certainty of funding so that we didn't present you a plan that, well, looked grandiose, was not, it wouldn't be funded potentially because it was so in-depth or so expensive. So we present to you tonight a 7-year plan that I believe with relative certainty is fundable over the next 7 years so that these projects that we talk about will likely become real as long as you keep them as priorities in this plan. Having said that, I guess I should highlight, too, that this plan is amendable year to year, and that's one of the nice things about a capital plan is the dollars do continue over from one year to the next because of project-length dollars as opposed to fiscal year-length dollars. But any of these priorities that we might highlight tonight, you can either agree with or disagree with, and the good news is if you disagree with them, they're very easy to change. Having said that, if you allow me to walk you through what we're proposing this year in the capital improvement plan, again, a 7-year plan. We're proposing the complete and necessary funding to build a city hall facility by 2017, which is when we would move half out of this building. As you know, that land is acquired, and we're simply ready to start the construction when the plans are done. There is one change to this budget, and I notified you of it by email, and I'll highlight it now for you and the public, is that I added a line in the capital improvement plan to account for land conservation transactions. We're still working through what that exactly looks like, but had a discussion tonight with the city attorney and with our consultant that has been working with us on conservation. And we believe we need some money there to incentivize some of these transactions to occur. This is sufficient funding to allow at least 2, we believe, maybe potentially 3 transactions to occur within this fiscal year in some type of a conservation effort. So we've received the green conservation plan that we had delivered last Monday. I think we're ready to execute upon it, and that's why there's some of those dollars that are programmed here, and that's in at $300,000.
Can I ask you a question on that, or do
Please.
you want to wait till
Go
you're
ahead.
over? Is that more so for facilitation of different things. That's not line items for purchasing potential properties. It's more
That's
funding.
right. Yeah, this is not to
about 2
own and
acres.
fee. This would be to incentivize the transactions by potentially handling some of the upfront costs that go along with a conservation deal, so that ultimately a transaction could close. And we believe that the best avenue is for a land trust then to hold that easement.
Thank you.
Moving through the capital plan, you can see where we believe expenses to have been reduced. We've reduced the capital plan. One of those is highlighted in the public safety radio system communications, where we have honed in on the cost of that equipment. And as such, you can see that we reduce and take out dollars from that line item to right size it as that project comes to completion. In the police department and in the fire department, as in the administration department, we believe that it's appropriate to program a vehicle replacement reserve dollars so that when we need to replace our assets, we can do that with accumulated finances that don't accumulate in that specific year. This is based upon a depreciation scale and a replacement plan that exists in all of our departments between now and this plan year, which is 2021. Moving on to the fire department, you can see we've got some simple maintenance needs, we believe, at existing facilities, as well as a design and plan for a live fire training facility, one that, if built, will allow us to receive some pretty substantial ISO credits, as well as train our firefighters here locally, and that's an important thing, we believe. You can see the fire department has an apparatus and vehicle replacement. Those numbers are large. You might have noticed that I responded in an email, great question from Councilmember Thurman earlier today as to how big that number was and why it was that big. And I included, and hopefully you had an opportunity to look at this replacement schedule that we've put together based upon age, miles, use, et cetera, average life of our vehicles, and it will better describe how we got to that number. You can see that one of the things that we talk about in the next couple of years in this plan is the replacement of Fire Station 42. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that building is almost 20 years beyond its useful life, at least what was determined to be useful life. And it is being held together with Band-Aids and duct tape, and it would be well served to look towards replacement either at that location or a location in that near proximity. I don't know that we necessarily are committed and married to that one spot that it is, but we would need to want to look in that area. So more information about that, not in this fiscal year, but in the one coming up. In this fiscal year, we're recommending that we acquire a fuel management system. We're sophisticated enough as an entity now that we need to go beyond I believe beyond the padlock and the key to unlock the gas pumps at the fire stations, and that we need to be more of a fuel management mindset at this point, so that we can really start to track and measure what departments are using what fuel, so that until we measure it at a department level, we really can't affect the outcome. Other than we know we need a certain amount of fuel, I think that we can potentially use our resources there more wisely. Moving into the Public Works Department, they always seem to absorb the lion's share of the capital dollars, because it's in that department where roads, bridges, dams, sidewalks, street lights, intersection improvements, all of those things that maintain our infrastructure and assets, those all are captured in this in the Public Works account. You can see, I want to highlight you on a couple of different things. I don't need to read them line by line, but highlight you towards a couple of different things that Hopewell and Birmingham Road this year would fully fund and be able to move towards construction. So I think that that's a positive thing. I'll let you know that the pavement management line item is appropriate for us to maintain the PCI that we have agreed to at this point. That supplemented with LMIG funds keeps us on track. I also want to highlight to you that there is a fairly substantial capital match this year at an intersection which is Crabapple at Birmingham. That's $736,000. That's a capital grant match. So those are funds that if we fund that, the return is right around $2.5 million, so somewhere in that $2 million range. So that's a real good investment versus our outcome. And I want to highlight then also, because it was brought up in some detail early on, that we wanted to incorporate the Green Road area into that Crabapple overlay area, because it's shown in all of the Crabapple overlays. And one of the quick and easy ways to do that, and also to add to the safety of that community, is to continue the street lighting project down Crabapple Road and up Green Road between Crabapple and Arnold Mill. We swap out to Sawney EMC as opposed to Georgia Power and we're recommending funding this year of $80,000 to be able to continue and complete that street lighting project. If we move into the parks area, you can see that, gosh, we're really out of money for any more park improvements. We've spent it all on Bell Memorial Park. We do fund in this budget year the Broadwell Park Pavilion. We're excited about that one to make that a usable community park over off of Broadwell Road. And obviously we will have the Bell Park renovations complete, we believe, in this next fiscal year and open to the public. And we can talk about that funding if we need to, but that right now it would be debt financing through our revenue bond. Do you have any questions about the capital projects as they've been presented this year, or any priority suggestions that would suggest that we have not prioritized the capital projects according to the council's desire?
Questions?
Again, this is like the 14th time this has been in front of you, so if you don't modify it tonight, it's okay, but I always want to ask that.
Just a quick question on the very bottom, the gateway signage and historic markers. Page 99 of 168, if you guys are on this thing. We don't have that for until 2016 coming up? Nothing next year?
That's the continuation of the funding. We have some previously allocated dollars that allow us to take it in a phased approach. So
Gotcha.
It's not that we don't suggest that we need more money, we just don't need it this next fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
One of the other things we look at every year after we work through the maintenance and operating, as well as our capital projects, is we look at what new initiatives might fund that would take the city either with an added service enhancement, a better return on our investment, or just a better deployment model. And there's always new initiative requests that are brought, and we evaluate them against what we believe is the priority based upon the capital projects, and try to find a good balance based upon those requests and good data. A couple of the initiatives that are brought forward this year that I am supporting and would recommend and would ask you to support as well. Let me start with staffing enhancements and work from there. In the police department, there is recommended funding for 2 additional police positions. In our communications department, I don't know that it would actually end up being called the communications department long term, with the kind of the structure that hopefully, as I've answered some of these questions and talked about, that you're kind of gathering at least hopefully kind of the vision that we've got for that department, is the addition of a public outreach coordinator. Even though you see dollars in there at $64,000, there's multiple things that come in at that expense. It's budgeted at this point right at a $45,000 staff position, which would be an entry-level position with the benefit multiplier attached to it. I really think that that's one of these positions that, as Milton grows, and as at least what I've heard from the council, is that you all are ready to have events on a very, very regular basis, almost weekly basis. I've heard, Alfred's got a food truck event going on. We need to be having something going on in our community tonight too. And that level of staffing, with this proposed level of staffing, I think we can move in that direction, and we can bring Milton to be in that same boat and in that same arena. And actually, I think we'll have people start to come to our stuff. There's an assortment of different things too that I really think that we kind of put ourselves on the cutting edge in this department of being a leader, and being a leader in how we interact and how we find ways to interact with our citizens in a place they want to be interacted with. And I can highlight a bunch of those different options if you want to go into that detail. But this modification and proposed enhancement to the communications department, I really think is going to have us out there finding ways to meet people and interact with people that we haven't to this point.
Can I?
Big plans there. Yes, Mayor.
Bill's got a question, I got a comment.
Have we written a job description for that post?
The public outreach coordinator, yes, because it would fit into a job description that similarly exists today. So yes, the answer to your question is yes.
How is that going to differ from what Angela Thompson is doing now?
Well, I've got, I guess, different, kind of a different and enhanced vision for what Angela would do. And Angela would, instead of doing what she does now on a daily basis 100% of her time, I'd like to see some of that event coordination happen with somebody different, so that I could use and enhance our abilities with Angela. So Angela would kind of fit into into more of the role that Jason kind of plays into today, more of the press release writing, more of the social media interaction. I mean, it's there's kind of a transition shift as opposed to saying, well, it's going to be duplicative of something that's happening today. I would see that we've really got some talent in Angela and really got a skill set that honestly we can capitalize on a bigger scale, I believe, and so that's why I'd like to see kind of some different roles filled in that same department. Again, I don't want to get bogged down in the fact that we're calling it communications department, because I really think that we might be, I think we're in a place where that's maybe a term that we inherited early on because everybody who had a CH contract got a communications person. You know, I've had all sorts of off-the-wall ideas as to what I want to call the department. I came up with this afternoon with it. You know, I wanted to call it the Big Ideas Department. You know, it's a trying to figure out how to stay at this. I hate to use the word bleeding edge because that's kind of what the word is now. If we get beyond cutting edge, you get to bleeding edge. You know, we really have an opportunity to be real leaders in this. In the interacting world, and the interacting world and how people want to be interacted with, both in that high tech and high touch we've always talked about. You know, I think we've got some real ability to stay out there.
Would you say this is more like a Janet Rogers position?
No, I don't really think so, because Janet's the CEO of the CVB, and that's a more of a tourism based go out and get conferences, I think. Yeah. Type organization. So I don't know that I would necessarily equate it to a
more of a Kim Dodson.
Maybe more of focused on that. Yeah, if we want to relate it to a face that we can recognize.
I just, I want to make a comment too. I'm a big proponent of this. That's probably our second year of cityhood. I remember getting interviewed with all the other mayors of the new cities, and one of the questions was, what are you most proud of, your accomplishments that your city's done? And I think I went last, and, everybody else said something about, whether it's their, some infrastructure or fire department, or nothing against fire departments, but, went through all these great things they had done, and after I answered, and then everybody was, oh gosh, I wish I'd have thought of that one. But I said, we've done all this stuff and all the bricks and sticks, but what I've really noticed that I'm the most proud of an accomplishment, I think our city's accomplishment is the sense of community that I feel now from our citizens that are getting involved. And, each event we have, people are more excited about either being a Milton resident or, bringing people to visit. And it was just, it's intangible that you could just kind of feel. And I think that's one thing that a lot of our communities around us are starting to get jealous of now, just that intangible, hey, Milton, we're a part of Milton. It's just a great community, and there's all this stuff. And as these guys can tell you, I'm always coming up with ideas. We need to do more of this and that. And finally they're going, oh, wait, we can't get to this, we can't get to that, or whatever. So, to me, I think this is a big identity that Milton has that we can serve a need there and really bolster our community. And also, as Chris says, we got some really talented people that are just exploding with ideas and all that, and can take us to the next level. It's amazing just to hear what some of our neighbor cities and even our neighbor counties are just, they're all kind of jealous, the buzz is, because we're doing all this cutting edge stuff, and their citizens are going, why can't we be like Milton? Why can't we do this? So anyways, I just wanted to say that this is something I really support. Bert?
I've gotten about a quarter of the way through our book for the Love of Cities, and I kind of see this department as being the conduit, the day-to-day conduit for us to harness the energy of our citizens that are out there that want to be part of it. And I fully support moving through with this. I think that department has been a shining star. I've had the chance to work with them on some different things, and I think it's something that would help us make our community and city continue to be a place that the people are proud to call home and be a part of.
Wish I could have said it and just it's perfect. One of the other things I want to highlight too that I envision this department doing, and I think this has been a direction of the council too, is to put us is we need to figure out, and Jason's got a good buzzword for it, but not to have as many lines here at City Hall waiting on certain processes. And one of the things that we're looking at, and that will be a focus and a direction of this department, is to turn our interacting into an online experience if the person wants that. Where if you're sitting at home and want to interact with City Hall but really don't want to come down here, there's no reason in 2014 why we can't make your interaction experience with us in a purely electronic environment. Now, there's still people that are going to want to come and talk when they come in, write their check and want to sit in the lobby and chat. Now, we still want those people to be here, but that'll be one of the key and immediate focuses that you'll actually see results with. Will be a transition towards getting things into that more interactive online environment, so that we can almost take City Hall to the community rather than having to have them come to us. Any questions?
Okay,
on that?
yeah, any questions or comments from anybody?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, just Bill's got 2 bags.
Look and see what's in there first, and maybe you may want to know.
One of them's got,
Okay.
yeah,
His birthday.
one of them's got something in it.
Okay.
Couple of, I'm just kidding. It does. Everybody's looking at the bag now, sorry.
It's in the refrigerator.
One of the other enhancements, and we've talked about this, is kind of the balancing and structuring of city operations, and kind of making us number one, balance, but number two, kind of setting us up for future success in the balance of the organization. And that is to have an operation, somebody focused on the operations of the city in the role of assistant city manager. We've talked about that. Carter Lucas is uniquely positioned to fit very nicely into that role, and I think that that's a recommendation that the council would support. What it does is it allows for us, or proposes that we bring more of an entry-level person into the Public Works Department to kind of take up some of the field work. We're not proposing to bring in another top manager, but to utilize our existing staff under Carter's continued leadership and direction to be able to do the good things they do with some additional work help and work in the field. That is the one thing. We've got all these projects now that are going on. We don't see them. If you look at the CIP, there's nothing that would indicate at any point in the future that any of them are going to stop. So it's not as though I would bring forward a request and say, gosh, I really only see a viable use for 2 years, and let's see what we can find for somebody after that. We would rather just outsource it if we were going to bring that kind of a recommendation. But I believe that in what we're asking for, Carter can describe it in more detail as to what his thoughts are with it. But that's what is included in this initiative request. One other item for your consideration, which is not an enhancement to our deployment to our staffing, is a transition and migration of our technology services into more of a cloud-based environment. This is important to do now. It's important to do now because as we start to move out of this facility and into new facilities, it's easier to design the new facilities so that we have this type of a deployment, and it's easier to move them in to a new facility. Minus, and I could go into all sorts of detail about the security and safety enhancements, as well as the disaster recovery, as well as the bench strength and the support that comes along with the private sector when you enter into this type of arrangement. When you have an IT staff of one person, on the days that one person, and he needs to go on vacation occasionally too and recharge his batteries. When you only have one, you don't have a whole lot of bench strength. We were buying the supplemental help when we needed it from the city of Johns Creek and that IGA on a per day basis. So it wasn't as though we just had one and didn't have a backup plan. We no longer would need that in this deployment model, and we'd have the assistance of the private sector in that backup model. Yes, sir.
While we're on that topic, did I see a line item in here for Nick O'Day?
I don't know if it would have been specifically called out as that. We will still have our intergovernmental agreement with Johns Creek for GIS services, which is what Nick would do. I don't believe we'd call it out specifically. And sometimes GIS gets lumped into IT partly because they just use a computer and they use it very well. It's really more of a planning tool. We probably should capture it in its own spot. But if Nick is, I don't know if he's specifically called out in this or not. But
I thought I saw his name mentioned it. Nick O'Day line item. I'm serious.
If that's included in here in that capacity, it would be because of the IGA with Johns Creek. We'll take a look and we call out somebody. Well, we'll find that. We'll do a find and search.
Look for the Nick O'Day line.
Yes.
A couple of enhancements or requests for funding for some safety issues and safety items in the police department. The world of law enforcement is moving towards body-worn cameras. It just doesn't pay for us to fight that movement at this point. And it almost means that we're kind of taking our step out there and saying not only are we putting cameras in the car, but body-worn cameras, the first time we have an actual incident that the in-car camera didn't cover and that we can go back to a body-worn camera, it will more than pay for the investment in supplying those with our officers. And it is the right statement to say we're not only are we not concerned about what we record from the vehicle, we're not concerned with what we record in the face-to-face interaction.
Talking about cameras, have we included anything in here? I think there's 1 or 2 cars out there with license tag readers. Are we going to expand that program or not?
I think we're good with what we've got there right now. We've got we've got a couple of them. We could put them on every car. It's like hunting fish in a barrel. I hate to use an expression like that, but you kind of sit there and let them come to you rather than you having to go out and find them. We could. I don't have that in here in this year. We could explore that in future years if the council likes that concept. I didn't have a request from the police department though for any additional units.
Okay. How have we paid for the units that we have in there already then?
How have we?
How did we purchase the one?
They were purchased just out of the general fund. I haven't done anything, and I guess I could, although I would shy us away from using a revenue offset in any citations that they might have generated. You got to be careful doing that because we're out there to try to really change behaviors and take criminals off the street. We really don't look at it from a revenue focus, but the reality of the world is that there is also a revenue impact whenever you put some type of a system like that into the field. So I haven't looked at that, but I'll just stay at that high level in describing it.
Okay.
A couple of safety things in the fire department as well as their large focus is on wellness. I think you know that I don't point this out very often, but the fire department is the one department, probably our police department too, although I'm going to relate it to fire departments because they all buy uniforms from different fire department uniform vendors. And we have a Milton Fire Department that from top to bottom, we do not pay an added material surcharge on any of our firefighters' uniforms. And that is, there's not a fire department in this area that can tell you that once you get above a certain number of X's, extra large or extra, you start to pay fabric surcharge because the Nobex is more expensive when you get into the larger size. So we have got a fire department that, and even the vendor said it to us when I came to sell uniforms and said this is the only department he's ever dealt with where there was not an added fabric surcharge on any of our employees' uniforms. So that's a testament to their fitness level and the all when they come and ask for cardio machines and stuff like that, that's really going to something that has a tangible result.
I see Chief's not here, but how about the police department?
They might too, but I don't know if because it's not Nomex. I don't know that there's material surcharges. So,
Right.
but we got in shape ones here tonight for sure.
Well, I've been able to put some of that turnout gear on, and I wish they'd at least get a sample with one more
having said that, council, this has been budgets always are. They're a labor of love and a balance of priorities. And did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? What could we do better? How could we do it different next year? This one has been no different. There has been hours and hours and hours of work put into this, and a couple of hours of lost sleep as well. So we know every line item of it except for the Nico Day line, which apparently we don't. Bill will find it for you.
Get to work.
But it's a pleasure to present it to you. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to talk through priorities. Would appreciate your support, and we hope that we can continue to do good things for Milton with a good sound budget. So thank you for allowing us to bring it forward.
Okay, and I just, I want to say, I know how much hard work it is, and it's such a moving piece, and also, as you're presenting it to us, it's had so many fingers in it, and, it's so spread out with our whole city and all the departments. So I commend all you guys, especially, Stacy and Chris, but everybody that's involved, every department head and staff. and Chris, not to put you on the spot now, but I'm sure you had, feedback with your departments. And we've also got, several of our outstanding, staff members here tonight. Anybody have any comments, constructive criticism for us or, in the audience is, I know you guys work with Chris, but is there anything that, you guys want to add?
Sure, I'd be open
Yeah,
to any.
open
I
to-
mean, this has been a
Yeah.
combined effort between our entire staff. So, yeah, to the extent anybody's here that has anything to add about the budget, I'd welcome any comments.
Of course, we
Not
all
putting
know
Carter on
you'd
the
love to
spot
have more and
first.
more, but, if there's anything that, like I said, that you're happy about or, constructive criticism that we might do better in the future, certainly, I'm sure the council's open to hearing it, so. But, going once? They're all smiling. I think everybody's smiling, so.
I got just a question on the fire truck that we have under contract or whatever that's on hold. And I know it's not a fire truck, the piece of apparatus. Where is that at? And maybe this is not the right thing, but where is that at? And then do we still have, I would assume, monies to pay on that? Where does that?
Yes, we're still under contract with that piece of fire apparatus. I can tell you that the company has indicated they've done some engineering stuff, and I don't want to, at some point we might end up in some litigation over this. I hope not, so I don't want to, say too much, but they've identified what they think is a fix. I guess as I understand it now, it's the process of trying to replicate what 10 years worth of wear does to something and try to replicate that in a matter of months so that you can see if something would fail into the future. Apparently it was, I heard from the chief in the last time he was there to take a look at the equipment itself. Rather than it being referred to as Milton's fire truck, it was referred to as the truck that was built to Milton spec, which is a very different mindset to be in when you're a vendor. So I don't know that we'll ever see that truck delivered to Milton. If we do, it will be because we're confident that it's safe. But if we can't get there, then we've got the assurances of starting. We'll back out of that one and go a different direction. Because that was a contract you all allowed us to award based upon a piggyback, it's not as though we have a competitive process. We could go back and pick vendor number 2. So we would end up having to do a process to get to a different deliverable if we choose not to go with Sutphen.
Okay. Anybody else, questions or comments? Budget? Karen, Matt, Bill, Bert, Rick? Okay. Thank you very much. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 14249.
I'll second it.
Okay. Got a motion by Councilmember Hewitt, a second by Councilmember Thurman for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for all your hard work. All right, I believe we added an executive session to discuss potential litigation, and land acquisition. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'll move to adjourn to executive session to discuss land acquisition, litigation, and pending litigation.
Let's change that to potential.
Potential.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Councilmember Luss, second from Councilmember Coons. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous.
I'm still looking for Nick over there.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we reconvene.
So, second?
World War II training videos for soldiers.
I made a motion,
Yeah,
we
we're back
reconvene.
on here. So Karen's made a motion to reconvene, and Matt seconded it. So.
All right, yeah, motion second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, that's unanimous.
A couple of staff reports just quickly for you. One is with respect to the Providence Park matter. The county's taken no action, and our staff, as recent as today, me and the city attorney met on the topic and have asked officially for a meeting of the county manager and the county attorney. Our thought process is that before we bring any type of offensive litigation, which we're certainly prepared to do, is we really would like to give the county attorney one opportunity to explain to us why the taxpayers of both Milton and Fulton County should be involved in both sides of this potential lawsuit. It's really quite frivolous and quite silly. We will find out what the county's position is through that litigation, but we feel as though we at least owe Mr. Ware the opportunity, if he'll come to a meeting, to let us know why he feels that they're taking this position, because it just doesn't seem sensical to us. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't have access to a document that we don't know exists or something. We just like to offer him the opportunity that before we bring it, and then we'll talk about whether or not we want to bring it. Before we do that, let's see what position he's taking. So that's where we are with that. I'll update you. We're going to meet now for the next 3 weeks in a row. This is because of this meeting. We're going to be together a lot in the next 3 weeks. So as it moves forward, I'll let you know.
Bill?
Dwight made some reference to sister cities in his letter. I didn't quite pick up on that.
I think he meant sister governments. And having a conversation with him, he indicated to me that they didn't want to sell it at $100. They didn't believe they had to, but they didn't also want to go get an appraisal and sell it at full market value, that they were going to do us a favor by giving us a deal. And I said, well, the deal we'll accept is $100 an acre. $4,000. Yeah, exactly. So that one other thing I want to just hand out to you as kind of a closing again to the budget. Thank you for adopting that budget tonight. I asked Jason to print this out because one of the things, and this maybe will give you a quick idea, and have you go to our website, take a look at some of the quick tools that he's trying to put together to take and really over-communicate and really communicate in a way that people understand what we just did and what we do on a daily basis. I want to hand out to you kind of the budget synopsis that he's put together in a very good visual, so that if you had no idea about what Milton did, you could go to this visual and really kind of understand the highlights of what this budget contained. If you all tonight had come and had not adopted something that matched what we had put together last week, then you wouldn't be receiving these tonight. I'll just say that. But since you did, I can share them with you. The big white open space that you say, what's that? Why is that big white open? Is when you go to the website and look at the budget for 2015, you'll see there's actually a video there that describes the budget process that the council went through. So this will be something that's either ready to go up later tonight or tomorrow. So that's the type of real time interacting we're talking about doing it, so that it's not the come back to our website in 4 days after we've edited the tape and created the minutes for it. We really want to start doing this interaction in real time. So just an example to send you away with tonight. Thank you again.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else? Staff?
I don't have anything else. No.
Just Crabapple Festival this Saturday. We have to mention that.
Well, we could do that,
We
too.
can do that. I was ready for that also, but,
We'd be more than willing to
You
share.
guys talk about that after the meeting.
there you go. Anyway, Crabapple Festival, Friends of Milton Library has a booth there as well, and so it's going to be a great deal, and just looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys there. That was it.
All right, and I don't have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.